for being here. I'm Clare Cooley. This is the Creativity Show. It's all about sharing with you the joy of creativity for its healing, life-enhancing, problem-solving, community building, all of the beautiful benefits of being more in touch with our imaginations and having more confidence to express it creatively and courage to share it with others. That's what it's all about. And today, we're going to continue what we've been doing, and we're going to do it throughout my entire memoir, Incandescence Rising Above Darkness. We're going to have some of the pre-recorded audio version of the book to share while I'm doing art. So you're going to see me doing art while you're hearing me reading my story. And today I'm wearing this SVG the latest one that got up on Patreon today, and I did this yesterday so I could show you an example of it being used on clothing. Yes.
Michael B said, looking great as always.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate it. It is fabulous to turn these into virtual visits, walk lightly on the planet, connect with you. I love that. Especially at this time in human evolution, for us to be conscious of not adding to the pollutants and the warming of the planet. We can connect virtually, and it feels wonderful and very fulfilling. So thank you for being here, Michael, and everybody else. So we're going to show you a little short of me doing this yesterday, and then I'm going to do the same stencil on a card, which I have on the table here, the cards I've done. All these flower stencil designs are out for my Patreon members to get at no additional cost. The $5 a month membership means that you get any and all of the stencil designs for no extra fee. And for other people, if they want to just get one or two or however many you want of the stencil designs, they're also available on my web store that Bodhi made for me, which he's going to tell you the name of. And $4 a piece there or on Patreon. There's also a Patreon free membership that is all of these live streams, videos, and other materials organized for you. So let him tell you how that works. You ready?
Yes. You can go to patreon.com/Clare Cooley to get all of her stencil designs. You can buy them for $3 a pop, or you get all of them for free if you become a member for $5 a month, and there's no commitment. So I think it's the best deal there is. And I think there's 12 of them up now, and we're putting them out every time she does a live stream, new ones. So it just keeps becoming a better and better deal. That's where I'd recommend going, because that has the most complete set of her stencils. But you can also go to clarecooley.com/shop and buy them there.
And so the book today, the story is called Crazy Carrot, and we're going to start that in a few minutes. And I wanted to give everybody a trigger warning for next Monday. The story is very heavy, and it's about being molested at 16. So I wanted to let everybody know, in case you're watching these with kids, that one may be very difficult or inappropriate for children. I always read or share that story with the two that follow it. So it's probably about 20 minutes of reading, because I like to leave people with hope instead of hurt. So we'll be sharing those 3 stories on Monday, which happens coincidentally to have gotten there in the book on my mother's birthday, which is kind of wonderfully but strangely appropriate, because she is the person that example taught me how to rise above. So Incandescence, Rising Above Darkness, my memoir, is dedicated to her and named because she sent me a note saying, "Did you know you have inner incandescence, dear?" Which I believe we all have. And some of us lose our way to that inner light, and we have to clear the hurt and resentment out to illuminate our lives with our own inner light and share it with others. But we all have it. And I'm very fortunate I had a mother who shored me up, encouraged me, and there's someone in everyone's life that can and will do that. And we have to keep looking until we find them. So, yes.
Joni B said, "Wow, your blouse looks so vibrant with the gold stencil."
Thank you, Joni. I'm so glad you're here. And yeah, this we call the balloon flower. I, like everybody, I have my idiosyncrasies, and one of them is remembering the names of things does not come naturally to me. So I love to draw and paint everything in nature, but remembering the actual name of things is challenging. And sometimes, of course, I, use my artistic license to rearrange some of the aspects of something so it may not look exactly like the flower that inspired it. So anyhow, you want to show that being put on this blouse, and then we'll move on to painting in front of you while the story is being read. All right. Okay, well, I'm going to set up so that I can do this card when you tell me that's done, because, okay. So I like to show how quick these stencil designs can be, either on fabric for clothing or table runners or curtains or bedspreads, or on cards, on paper for invitations, or just make your own note cards. So I call it fun, fast, frugal. All right. So now let us start the story, Crazy Carrot, while I paint this.
Crazy Carrot.
Am I in the right place for the camera to see it? Okay.
Something about their identical suits approaching my front door was disturbing. Even from my 14-year-old, inexperienced perspective, I knew this was going to change things. Never having seen such serious-looking men up close before, these truancy officers both intrigued and terrified me. As soon as I opened the door, the shorter one asked, "Are you Clare Cooley?" "I am," I answered. The taller one snapped in a stern tone, "Why aren't you in school?" I answered without hesitation, "Who will take care of things?" "What do you mean?" he asked, clearly puzzled. My father's gone. My asthmatic mother works 12-hour shifts 6 days a week in a punch press factory and is too tired to shop, cook, clean, or do laundry, so I do. The shorter man's eyes began to form tears. The taller man took him by the upper arm and pulled him back while saying to me, "We'll get back to you." I had been slipping through the opening since I was 7 years old. The path of least resistance was to simply step off the sidewalk on the way to school. I would find serene nature to be my classroom. I headed out before anyone else every day. We had moved 6 times and gone to 7 different schools by then. Maybe I was just lost in the chaos. Or perhaps my father and oldest sibling were so angry and loud they did not care to have another Cooley in their school. I cannot explain how no one noticed or showed up until I was 14. But now that I'd been noticed, things would be different. After a series of meetings weeks after the truancy officers came to the front door, it was decided by the Board of Education that my mother should take me to a psychiatrist. It did not make sense to me, but I agreed to go without resistance. I understood that my mother could get in trouble because I had not been going to school. She was already suffering, realizing for the first time how little school I had attended. I never blamed her for not knowing, as I had perfected the art of drawing no attention to myself, and she had so many more pressing concerns to deal with. There were no calm moments in our home for my mother to even ask, "How's school?" Between moving so often, my father's drunken rages, my older sister's dangerous drug use and her threatening friends, my older brother's depression, my little sister's emotional vulnerability, and my mother's asthma, my truancy was easy to overlook. I got dressed and packed my lunch every school day. Everyone knew I liked to be alone, so leaving before my siblings and coming home first raised no suspicion. I acted as if everything was fine, because after a day in the serenity of solitude and nature, I was calm and happy. My way of finding a safe place in an exhausting and dangerous world refreshed me. I was surprised that the Board of Education required me to go to a psychiatrist. My mother drove me there and waited in the car as I went into the office, where a jumpy receptionist led me into the doctor's office. He was a large frame man with a thick silver and black mustache, sitting behind an enormous desk. The psychiatrist pointed to a big couch across the room, gesturing for me to sit. It was soft leather, and I sank into it and felt tiny. He greeted me politely, which seemed reasonable, but then immediately said, "Do you know how psychic you are?" I withheld any show of surprise while I tried to figure out how to respond. Before I came up with anything, he continued, "What am I writing down?" My first thought was, what kind of trick is this? He had a legal yellow pad he held straight up and down in front of his chest and scribbled something onto it without me being able to see his hand or pencil. Then he put the pad a few inches in front of his chest, flat against himself. He held it there with his left arm and looked at me without saying anything. I was trying to imagine what he was up to. How do I appear cooperative? As I reviewed my possible responses carefully, considering the negative repercussions for my mother if I did not cooperate, I knew I must go along with him. Just then, the receptionist tapped on the door and came in, saying, "Sorry to interrupt, but Mrs. Miller is on line 1 and very upset." I thought perhaps he was going to set the pad down while speaking with a make-believe disturbed client. Perhaps he would let its reflection flash in the picture glass behind him, or maybe there would be a faint trace of graphite on his white shirt. I thought one way or another, He is going to reveal what he has put on the paper. My best guess was it was a test of my perceptive abilities, alertness, or honesty. Abruptly but politely, he said to Mrs. Miller, "We will talk about it during your next session. Goodbye." He hung up and looked directly at me. He had not taken the pad away from his shirt, so there was no way for me to see any reflection. I could not see how his pencil moved as he held his hand completely behind the pad, nor could I see the shape or pattern it moved in when he wrote. I was very confused by it all and at a loss of how to respond. Sensing my discomfort, he said, "This is for you. What have I written down?" I felt very uncomfortable, with no desire to be right. I just wanted it to be over. I said the first thing that came into my mind, a carrot. He turned his pad over and showed me a small, simple outline in the center of the page of a carrot with a leafy top. He showed no reaction and appeared unimpressed. I felt a little panicked and began searching for an explanation. I ruled out every possibility of him telegraphing the answer to me somehow. Clues in his phone message, his secretary. There was no carrot art, bunnies, or Easter baskets in the waiting room. No smell of carrots, not even orange colors. If it was a trick, he had tricked me, which was mildly disturbing. But what made my heart race was the terrifying idea it was not a trick. The idea he actually knew something about me. He broke my silence by asking, "Why don't you wear shoes?" "They are uncomfortable." "Why haven't you been going to school?" "I feel the need to help my mother with managing the house and prefer being alone." "Why?" "Alone I can relax." "Why can't you relax in school?" "I don't fit in." "Why do you think you don't fit in?" "Because I don't." "I would appreciate it if you would try to explain." Girls my age are talking about matching their nail polish to their shoes, while I'm thinking about feeding the 5 of us on $12 a week left over for food after critical bills are paid. Tell me more about your situation if you don't mind. My mother has a fine art education and has had severe asthma since her infancy. To support us, she works on a punch press in a factory and comes home every day unable to turn her head because of muscle strain. My dad is an overqualified, underemployed alcoholic who is gone now, thank goodness, because he is violent. My older sister is always looking for bad drugs. If my brother is home, he is in his room reading. My little sister lives in a make-believe world where she must believe we are normal, and I cannot stand to live in squalor, so I do all the cleaning, shopping, cooking, and laundry. He looked into my eyes for a long time, and I noticed I did not mind. So I asked, "Am I crazy?" "Oh, no." "So will I fit in?" "Definitely not." "Why?" "Because the world is crazy, and you are not." I was somewhat sad about not fitting in, but what ripped my heart wide open was hearing him say what I also believed was true: the world was crazy. I came into his office with my shields up, but I left surprised I trusted the stranger I was forced to see. As I got into the car when my mother was waiting, she asked, "Was it okay, dear?" "Fine. He's nice." My answer surprised us both. Late that night, my mother answered the phone and handed it to me, saying, "It's the doctor, dear." "Hello," he said. "I hope I'm not calling too late. I just wanted to thank you for coming in today. You uplifted me. Most people complain about nothing. You have so much to complain about, but you don't. When you left, I felt better than when you walked in, which never happens." After a short silence, he added, "Don't change. Don't let them change you." My mother's round, dark eyes were studying me as I said, "Thank you. I enjoyed meeting you too. Good night, doctor." My mother smiled and went back to her sewing project. Without a word about the call, I saw the doctor for about a year, and we talked of many things, but not ever again about carrots or being crazy.
Well, it's a very interesting experience to hear my own voice and to hear my own story. Um, as I've said before, I took a long break after writing my book and recording it as an audiobook before hearing it again or reading it again. And this break is I'm trying to think of the words. To have this perspective, this distance, is it's very reassuring. I chose young to be like my mother because she was kind, and I chose to be honest because I observed a lot of people around me not being honest, and they didn't seem to be happy or content. So I thought being kind and honest and awake were good things to be, and I have been following those principles as best I can throughout my life, and it feels good to reflect on that and hear my stories. And I am by nature contemplative. I am by nature not an introvert, not an extrovert, but an omnivert, which I didn't know existed until recently. That is a person that is comfortable alone, but also comfortable with people. And that is me. I am in my solitude always thinking about what makes us happy, which is why I'm doing these virtual visit live streams, because what makes me happy and what has been scientifically medically documented to increase happiness for people is stepping into our flow, and creativity is a great way to do that. And so that's what this is all about, is sharing. I don't practice what I'm going to do in front of the camera. I just step into it and explore in front of you. I heard John Cleese, I think his name, from Monty Python, say this, and then I'll answer the Tibetan bell, which I love that, letting me know there's a response. John Cleese said, when they study creative people, it's not that they have the highest IQ, it's that they're playful. In an architectural firm or whatever the business is, the most creative people in the firm are the ones that play. So giving ourselves permission to explore our curiosity, express ourselves, that is what I found young in life and did it in solitude almost always. And now to be doing it in front of you is extremely liberating, and I hope helpful for you. Yes.
All right. On YouTube, Catalyst Database, Magic Words and Art.
Thank you very much. I didn't quite hear what the name of the whoever said that, but thank you very, very much. It's, what we have that we can contribute to the world that no one else can is us. I say this a lot because I hold it such a dear truth that you are the only one that can be you. I'm the only one that can be me. And what we can give the world is our unique perspective, whatever we've learned or experienced through what we've gone through. And whether it was difficult or easy, that doesn't really matter. It's what we do with it. And sometimes the hardest stuff can you know, give us the greatest wisdom, strength, and help others through their difficulties. So that's why I wrote my book, because people told me it helped them to hear the stories. And the few readings I did before publishing the book, I heard that people say, share it with many because it could help many. And that gave me the impetus, the motivation to get over my insecurity, which I have like everybody else, and share my stories and my vulnerable truths. And we're in a world that often blames victims. So this is my way of stepping up and saying, don't shame victims. Let the victimizers take responsibility for their victimizing people, and let victims be as they are, innocent, and face your fear of living in a world that terrible things can happen to perfectly good people that didn't deserve it, did nothing to bring it on themselves. So that saying all this to you is saying it to me at the same time before Monday, when some of my, well, perhaps my most vulnerable, revealing, courage requiring stories are going to be shared. So was there something else?
You are caught up.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to continue painting, and I don't like to share the story about being raped without sharing the two stories that follow it. So that's all going to happen on Monday. So I'm just going to continue working on my art in front of you. And it's appropriate that it's all about flowers, in my opinion, because it's spring. So these are metallic inks. And Bodhi, you tell them about the materials that I use, how they can see what they are and such.
Hey, so if you go to her video on YouTube, you can watch any of her YouTube videos, and the affiliate links to all of the different materials she uses are in the description. And if you click those and make a purchase, she'll receive a small commission at no additional cost to you. And you can find those links so that you can get the exact tools and materials she uses through her YouTube video descriptions. And if you're watching on Facebook, there's a link in the description of this video to take you to her YouTube channel. This particular live stream, in fact, her YouTube channel is The Creativity Show. So definitely check it out and consider subscribing to The Creativity Show now.
So I often do art in steps. So like I did these cards that are the flower stencils that are out, and now I'm embellishing them. I often take breaks and do something else so I can get that perspective break. And when I come back, I've learned over the years, I can see it clearly again, or more clearly, and then I know what I want, like this pink on this gold iris. So I highly recommend for creative play, experimentation, to be joyous is, take breaks. As soon as we're like, oh, I'm not sure what to do next, do something else. And don't do something, don't force it. come back to it when you're clear, like, oh, I want to try that. And also, I think the reason people have said to me many times in my life at coming to home shows or exhibitions, or that I'm the most creative person they know, which is kind of, you know, that's hard to say. That's hard for me to say because it sounds so self-congratulating, but maybe it's because my life was really tough as a little girl, and so I found this safe place in creative expression, and that's where I wanted to be. Who doesn't want to be safe? We all want to be safe. Who doesn't want to feel happiness? We all do. And the reason I'm doing these, the creativity show and these live streams, is because the thing that I've heard the most in my life from other people is, I wish I was more creative. So giving ourselves permission to play, to experiment, to enjoy the process, and accepting that nothing is a failure if we learn from it, if we enjoy doing it. So give yourself permission to try things, just for the joy of stepping into the creative flow, and don't let the critical mind, which we all have, and it has its place, override your joy of the creative flow. As I say to my critical mind, it's time for me to explore and play now. Your time to assess how it went will come later, but right now I don't need you, critical mind. I'm playing. I'm enjoying it. And if the critical mind comes back, which it often does, I say, perhaps you are dismissing me, and that's unacceptable. I don't need you to chime in and tell me what's wrong with this or what I should or shouldn't do. I'm having fun now. And if the critical mind comes back again, I say, get the F out. And, and that usually works quite well. Sometimes we have to be harsh with our own inner critic to get it to quiet down. And the world is full of judgment and criticism, and that's a little pink and orange there. So, let the critical mind respect it, and let it have its place, but do not let it run the show. So, Bo, maybe there's some questions or comments from previous ones that we didn't get to.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we got a previous one. We have a question that I didn't get from last time. What inspired you to start making your stencil designs into SVGs?
Oh, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. Well, as I just was saying, one of the things I've heard the most often, and I have an organizing brain as well as an exploring brain, we all do. And one of the things I've heard the most, if I'm taking a poll, is, I wish I was more creative. So a lot of people don't think they can draw well or and they can use some, help to get started. So I thought, well, first of all, I love to study nature and reduce it to simple lines like this mom here that could make beautiful stencil designs that might help people feel free to use these designs on clothes, or like Joni did on her guitar case, or on tablecloths or on friezes on walls, on hats, scarves. I've used them so many different places. And so I thought, well, use my designs as a way to help people start expressing their creativity and enjoying, increasing their happiness, stepping into the flow, expressing their emotions creatively, stimulates our immune system. Any emotions we express, and creativity is a way we can express any and all of them. So it's healing, it's happiness increasing, and of course we can enhance our home decor, our clothing, our cards for correspondence or invitations. So, when I do something, I usually go all the way. So I have almost 300 stencil designs I came up with. A lot of flowers, a lot of birds, a lot of cranes, warblers, seashells, all sorts of things in nature. So see the difference between just putting little orange tips and just a plain gold. It really, I think, really enhances it. Yes.
Do you do any other types of designs besides botanicals?
Yes, warblers. I've got 26 warbler stencils. I've got 12 different crane stencils. I've got seashells, seahorses, turtles. I'm sure I did peace in 48 different languages. Lots of different stuff. And I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep releasing them. I'm going to try to get one every live stream added to the collection on Patreon, and keep it going. And by the time I get to the end of the stencils I've already designed, I will add to my designs and just keep it going. Any other comments from previous?
Yep. So SHM on YouTube said, how do you do so many different creative things so well?
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. How do I answer that? Well, if I choose to do it, it's because it gives me joy to do it. And so whatever we're happy doing, whatever gives us happiness to do, is very self-organizing to that happiness. Motivation really helps us to stick with it. And I did 5 blades of grass sumi brushstroke with the, I'm seeing where my Suzuri is, right? Oh, here it is. For, I think, 6 months, I used the Suzuri and the sumi ink and mixed my ink and did 5 blades of grass on cheap newsprint, and I threw everything I did away. It wasn't about doing a painting in the beginning. It was about learning to breathe through this, relax through the brush stroke. And so in answer to how I do it well is I try to enjoy the process of learning how to do it well. When I carve dishes, the set of 202 crane dishes, I was doing the paintings of cranes for my book of cranes. So I had the crane imagery in my brain, and I carved them into dishes, and I did 202 of them. So the answer is I get really into it. Like there's, nearly 300 stencil designs. I have hundreds of paintings. When I did jewelry design, I did hundreds of sets of necklaces and earrings. So I get really into it, and that's how practice practice improves us. So I don't flit from one thing and get discontent with it and go to the next. I get into it, and there you go. Lots of immersion, that's the word, in whatever I'm doing, whether it's designing furniture or clothing or painting on clothing or whatever I'm doing, I immerse myself in it. So that's those little green tips on that. All right.
What's your favorite art form?
That's certainly not the first time I've been asked that, and the best answer I can give is whatever I'm working on at the time. If I'm dancing on skates, that's my favorite at the time. If I'm painting on cards, that's my favorite at the time I'm doing it. When I was writing my stories for my book, that was my favorite. So whatever I'm doing, I really put all my heart and spirit into. So I immerse myself, and so it's my favorite while I'm doing it. And then sometimes I'm done with that medium and it's time to immerse myself in the next. And I think it helps to say this, that it is not natural for me, and I don't think it's natural for people, but we're trained to be competitive with others a lot in our society. But it's not natural for children to be competitive with one another until they're taught that. So I never absorbed competing with others because I was allowed my space to explore my own creativity, and my I would say enlightened mother allowed me to be myself and encouraged me to do things my own way. So the only person I ever compete with is me of yesterday. I just want to be better today than I was yesterday. And that allows me to explore many different mediums, because I once had a monk from Myanmar hear me playing my bamboo flute, and he said, everything you do is beautiful because you're not imitating anyone else. So when any of us are not imitating anyone else, but we're just expressing our own feelings and essence, it's beautiful because it's authentic, and authentic, real, genuine interpretation of our spirit and our emotions is beautiful.
And we got this email question a while ago that you answered already, but I figure it's good for people to know. What inspired you to start doing live streaming is a question you got from Jeff. I figure you could share that with everybody.
Well, actually, fortunately, I got a grant. I was awarded a grant for live streaming. And honestly, I might not have started if it weren't for that grant, because it's not something that occurred to me to get in front of a camera and do my art and talk about the artistic process that had I not gotten a grant, I might not have started, because it's kind of intimidating. And I especially wouldn't have thought getting in front of a camera at my mature age, in a world that, Hollywood says they don't want to see any woman over 40 in front of a camera. And I'm 31 years older than 40, so it's very intimidating in this critical world, this ageist, sexist world we live in. So I might not have done it if I hadn't gotten the grant, because people say they think I'm confident, but I'm like everybody else. I have all kinds of doubts and insecurities, but because people have told me it helps them, I would feel cowardly to quit. So once I started, and people told me it helped them, that's where the courage to keep going comes from. So how about that?
And then I've got a question. Which one's your favorite of these note cards?
Well, I like this one I just did, which, and now let me see if I like the one I'm going to do next better. I'm going to use this green that's on this brush on these stems. My artistic expressions are kind of like, they have a life of their own. They're kind of like children. So, how do you pick your favorite child? Whoever you're hugging at the time. All right, let's see. How we doing on time, Mr. Timekeeper? All right, so I'd say that's enough for today, but I'm enjoying the heck out of it, so I could keep going. But let me wrap it up, because we've gone almost an hour, and these just stepping into creative flow, even though there's several cameras going, I completely lose track of time, because it is a meditative, serene, creative reverie, timeless place. And that's part of the reason it's good for us to have creative expression in our life. It is a serene, meditative place. So I love that I'm getting more and more comfortable in front of the camera and can just go there even with the camera going. So let's thank Bodhi very much for helping me. Without Bodhi the Movie Maker, his YouTube channel, Patreon, his Patreon, and is Northport 1999 is his sci-fi novel, and he does his live streams on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 4 Central Time. Mine are Mondays and Thursdays at noon. And without his expertise, as Meg said, I couldn't do these. I'm very happy with the resourcefulness I have, the hands-on build things, design things, recreate with found materials, use clothing. But technical is not natural for me, and I very much appreciate his help and us being a team to help each other live the life that gives us purpose and joy, and create and share it with you. So thank you, Bodhi. And thank you, everyone, for being here.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And do you have to shut it off in there, or can you come out and hug me in front of the camera? Boy, I put him on the spot, didn't I? So, thanks, everybody, for being here. And thank you.
You're welcome.
And well, I'll be back Monday at noon. And remember, they're heavy stories, but hopefully it wraps up with hope. And Bodhi's Saturday at 4 is his next live stream. So thank you so much. And please like, subscribe, join the free Patreon or the $5 and get the stencil designs as they're coming out for no extra fee. And please, word of mouth is the best way to grow. So please tell a friend or tell all your friends if you enjoyed this and you think it'll be enjoyable for them. So thanks for being here, and until Monday, till next time, stay creative.